Shalom everyone, and today we study Parashat Ḥayei Sarah. Parashat Ḥayei Sarah can be found in the book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 1. והיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים, שני חיי שרה. Translating that to English is a problem because it's a game of words, and it says, basically, it speaks about the life of Sarah. Ḥayei Sarah means the lives, in plural, of Sarah. And what does it have to tell us? That she died. So what are we talking about? We already have here the paradox that this parasha is focusing very strongly on, the paradox between what is life and what is death. Because most of us do not have any idea about this great important aspect of being human and human life. And in order to figure out our daily life, we need to know that secret. And we're going to discuss that today. So we learn that Sarah passed away, and she passed away at the age of 127 years. However, the way the text is telling that to us uh, is not normal, and when we have a kind of irregularity in the text, that means that we have to delve much deeper, because the Torah is not just telling us a simple story. The Torah is riddles, the Torah is secrets, the Torah is codes with universal powers and eternal wisdom behind it. So when it says the lives of Sarah, and the verse says where 100 shana, 100 year in single, ו20 shana, and 20-year single, ו7 shanim, and 7 years plural, שני חיי שרה. And then it adds a weird addition, 3 more words that looks like it's redundant. The years of the lives of Sarah, or you can read it also as the 2 lives of Sarah. What are we talking about? And I discussed it many times before in previous years, but this is very important, extremely important for all of us. Why is it important? The history of humanity, since Abraham and Sarah started their journey from Ur Kasdim, Ur of the Kasdians, the 2 Urs. One is Ur Kasdim, which is the Ur of the land of the Kasdians, Chaldeans in English, I think. This is in south of Iraq. There's another Ur. This Ur is not far from Haran, which is in Turkish Kurdistan. So Abraham and Sarah, they leave Ur Kasdim, they go to Haran, and from there they go to Canaan, and they don't stop the journey even in Canaan. They just go southward and southwards and southward. I don't know, but whoever been to Israel, it's a tiny country. There's a limit how south can you go, because very soon you get to the end of the country and there's no more to go south. So what does it mean, haloch v'naso negba? And how is that connected to the weird way to tell us about how old was Sarah when she passed away? What's the real message over here? So the Zohar is telling us that it's not just about the history of 2 human beings called Abraham and Sarah that basically started a journey of hope to freedom of humanity. Why freedom? Because The idea of monotheism, as many people forget, is about a very important concept, the biggest and the most important concept in every human's life. Understanding that concept is basically the journey of every human being. And what is that concept? I said it many times, but I think I have to explain it to myself, and everybody has to explain it to themselves daily. And the idea is very simple. Idol worshiping is a terrible concept, which most of us through that, most of our lives. Idol worshiping means few things. One is to believe there's a force outside of your world that does not want your uh, benefit. Outside force that doesn't care about you, doesn't care about anyone, that cares just about its own. We have no idea what does it mean its own, but we know it's not on our side. And therefore, I have to appease that outside force, and I have to sacrifice my happiness, my joy, my comfort in order to appease that force. And not just to appease that force, there are many forces like this. And that means every time we are in that space of appeasing and sacrificing for someone who doesn't care about us, and we have to appease them, otherwise they'll smite us, they'll step on us, they'll crush us, they'll basically give us a terrible discomfort. The moment you live this kind of a life, you are in that realm that is called idol worshiping. I think that there's no human being that is, let's say, free of that concept. If you really contemplate on that, we all sin in that aspect many times a day. Why does it mean that it's sin? Who is going to punish us? Just being in that space, it's the greatest sin. Why? It's against who we are and what we are. Abraham, who brought to the world the idea of monotheism, which means there is a God, only one God, and there's nothing but God, and he's uh, is around everything, that he sustains everything, and there's nothing but his power, which means we are all part of that God, and therefore he has one and only one purpose, which is to be there for us so we can reach eternal happiness and joy. That's the basic idea of monotheism. Since he created us in his image, it means that we are destined to achieve eternal joy, happiness, and freedom. Total freedom. Why freedom is so important? Because when he created us in his image. Genesis chapter 1. And because he does not have any physical image, we're talking about a mental image. And the mental image of the creator is, first of all, that he is above all of that stuff, which means his happiness, his well-being is totally independent from anyone's whims, choices, and whatever decisions, which means a human being cannot really be in a good, positive place when that human being, each one of us, is developing any kind of dependency or belief that our well-being is dependent on someone, something outside of ourselves. And since then, we also need, because the image of God is also about giving, we need to give in order to connect to that image of God. And by the law of affinity, you cannot connect to the awesome, endless power of the Creator with all the joy and the bliss and the good fortune that goes with that, unless you create that affinity in yourselves, which means the moment we fall into idol worshiping, which means which is the hardest, which is so easy. It's the hardest thing to get out of it. We start to develop dependency that something has to happen so I can be happy. Somebody has to be nice to me so I can be happy. Or, I hope you understand that idea. Human real true freedom is to be able to have total responsibility over our own happiness, which means I am happy because I am made in the image of the Creator. He created me in order to be happy. There's no other basic idea and destiny to my life. And the way to be happy is to acquire the image of the Creator within myself. And I'm the only one who can do it for myself. This, when we speak about dependency and slavery on one hand, idol worshiping, and independence, and freedom on the other hand, monotheism, this is basically the only question each one of us as a human being has to deal with daily, hourly, because there's no other story. This is the only story. Now, why is it that our lives are so complicated, so upsetting sometimes, too many times? It's because that all of those obstacles, challenges, disturbances that we have in our lives is basically to put us in front our own free will, which is, am I choosing to be an idol worshiper, a slave, a servant, a victim, somebody has all the time to sacrifice his own happiness in order to appease some imaginary forces outside of himself? Or am I a free human being that is basically connecting to the real, true creator of the universe that has only good for us? However, he cannot give it to us for free. We need to acquire the image of the creator, which means the image of freedom. I choose to be happy, therefore I'm happy. I'm not waiting for anyone to make me happy, because whoever is waiting is always going to be waiting. Because the moment we're waiting for something to happen in order to achieve freedom or happiness, we are slaves. We're idol worshippers. And what comes with idol worshiping is basically slavery, darkness, incompetence, victimhood, weakness, all the bad traits of human being. And when you're weak, your body takes over with all the host of terrible emotions that are connected to the primitive body consciousness: fear, anxiety, hatred, anger, and so on. That is what plagues humanity since the sin of Adam. And this is what we want to redeem ourselves from. There's nothing to do with politics. It's nothing to do with anything. It's all about the journey that Abraham and Sarah started some 4,000 years ago. And we have to choose, are we committed to that journey? And our falls will be limited. And our falls will be maybe just timely limited, because we have that covenant with our destiny, with our goal, with who we are, with who we're supposed to be. And if we choose not to be part of it and to worship and basically to have commitment, to find, who wronged us, who should we take revenge of, all of that nonsense, that creates a whole system that basically is called idol worshiping. It doesn't mean that you bow down in front of a statue. Just to think that you bow down in front of misery and you simply have a commitment to be eternal slave to your whims and all your negative, lowest urges and needs that are very primitive, very animalistic. Uh, and what else we know that because humanity started a journey and it's not reversible, we cannot choose to go backwards. We can fall backwards slightly, not all the way. And yes, along human history, we fall, we get up. However, there is a power that is called the surrounding light. And the surrounding light is the power of the creator that forces every human soul to move forwards. Even when we deny any access to anything of hope, eternity, greatness, and so on that is awaiting each one of us, the surrounding light will force us sooner or later to fight for it. It will either tingle our inner soul desire. It will put us into places of terrible pressure till we say, yes, I want, please give it to me. And that's why humanity is on a journey for 4,000 years that is always maybe like a spiral, going in cycles, but we go up and up and up. And every generation we redefine freedom. We redefine uh, spirituality. We redefine religion. We redefine God. I spoke about it last week from the Zohar, that the Zohar explained to us that we basically, as we push ourselves forward, we go through gates. These are gates of awareness. And in the coming year, we are going, as humanity, we're going to go through a lot of pressure that will basically force us to redefine the way we perceive ourselves, our society, our purpose, uh, human life, humanity, the creation, our relationship with God from different points and each person from his own angle. And that will become stronger and stronger in the next few years. And therefore, this parasha is very, very important because it is very much about that journey that we all have to go through. It doesn't matter what's our background. It doesn't matter how do we define ourselves religiously, culturally, nationally. This is not very important because all of that is going to change drastically in the coming years. Because you can be declare yourself that you are monotheist, that you believe in a supreme power, whatever, but you behave on a daily basis as an idol worshiper, and we all fall into it because we all humans. The most important understanding is that it's not about if you're righteous or not. Okay, what do you declare? It's about what you do and how do you react to things. And when you fall, do you realize that you fell? Do you really try to get up because you know that what happened to you is not supposed to happen? And if it happened, it's another, people train. You don't become a world champion in anything in athletics just because you decided to be. You have to put a lot of effort and have many mistakes. You don't become like a world champion in chess or in anything without falling. Falling is part of exercise, is part of professionalism. Professionals who never failed, they're lying. They're not professionals. So being a professional as a human being means not that you don't fall, it's how do you react to that falling? How do you deal with that mistake that you've made? Do you really realize that you fell into idol worshiping, worshiping the anger, worshiping the victimhood, worshiping the bad feelings and anxiety or depression? Do you really realize that this is breaking the covenant with the only one creator? That the covenant means I was created to be a vessel for the light of the creator and nothing else. And I'm going to achieve that through my daily experiences by, trial and error till I'm going to be a complete vessel for the light of the creator. And that means that I'll be happy, full of joy. Why? Just because the creator created me for that purpose. And the greatest appreciation, gratitude. How do I show it? Simply by being a vessel for God's light and joy. There's nothing else. This is basically the simplest definition of human destiny. Why the life of Sarah is so important over here? Because the Zohar is teaching us basically the mathematical equation that is involved with it. And I explained many times, and I think it will take us a long, long, long years to really internalize it. So it doesn't hurt to repeat it. So verse 21 in Zohar HaSulam, Rabbi Ashlad's commentary, the Zohar Parashat Ḥayei Sarah. I'll read the Aramaic because those magical words have a lot of power. זכאי הוא מאן דאזער גרמי בהי עלמא, כמה יעורב ועילה בהו עלמא. Praiseworthy, the word ashrei doesn't mean praiseworthy. It's like ashrei comes from the word osher, happiness. Happy is the person, מי שממעט את עצמו בעולם הזה, whoever makes himself small in this physical world, how great he is in the eternal world. And then it continues, the head of the academy in the upper worlds, in the Garden of Eden, they have academies over there, that the high souls are studying there, learning there. And what does it say? Whoever is small in this physical world, he is great in the eternal world. Now, what does it mean? And it means that Sarah, where it says, as we read before, why describing her life in such a weird way? And first of all, the word Shnei Ḥayei Sarah, the double lives of Sarah. We live a double life. We live in a body, and the body has its own needs. We cannot be 100% spiritual because we need to feed the body. We need to get shelter for the body. We need to protect the body. We need to dress it, and so on and so forth. And therefore, we need to focus on taking care of the physical body. And if we don't do that, we will be punished severely. What does it mean, punished severely? Who will punish us? Nature. Which means if you don't make sure you have a shelter above your head, you're going to freeze in the winter, you're going to boil, fry in the summer, you're going to get wet when it rains, you're going to simply get dry in when the sun hits you. You have to you'll be punished immediately. If you don't dress up Again, the same thing. If you don't feed your body, you will feel the pain of hunger directly, like a few hours later, and the body needs to be fed. So because of that, because the cause and effect of, the duty to protect the body and to take care of the body, this is an immediate thing. We focus on this physical world, which means having shelter for the body. But the point is, what does it mean, shelter? If you build just a hut, big wind can take it away. Then the human imagination says, but if it's going to be bigger wind, I need to have a bigger house. I need to have a more fortified house. And then finally, we find ourselves in a place that big part of humanity, a long history, is focused 100% of the time about what? Feeding the body, uh, sustaining the body, protecting the body. It's all focused on what? The physical dimension of reality. What's the problem? When a body dies, everything is left behind. And when the soul leaves the body and looks backwards, the soul realizes that we've been cheated. Why? Because we did not come to this world for the purpose of sustaining, supporting, protecting just the body. Yes, we need to protect the body, we need to sustain the body, but this is just a mean, it is never the goal. Why? Because this is how we've been put in the physical world so we can overcome the illusion of the physical world in order to be able to attain, acquire, conquer, achieve the real world, which is the world of the soul. And that's why when it says that Sarah had a double life, she created the road for us that in order for human being to achieve a true lasting fulfillment, we need to have a double life. Yes, we need to take care of the body. Yes, we need to sustain the physicality around the body, the needs of the body, family, sustenance, community, country, security, army, a system of justice, whatever, so the body can function and have a nice life. However, this is just the prerequisites. It's a must, but it's not the only thing you need. You need to create real estates in the spiritual universe too. Why I'm saying real estate? Because when you buy a piece of land and you build a house on that piece of land and you register that in the county register, this is not real estate, it's fake estate. Why is it like this? Because you can't take it with you. How long would you live? You know, some people today, they can live almost till 100 years old. Life expectancy is growing all the time. But after 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, you leave. That means, can you take your real estate with you? I think in most countries, it is against the law to turn into your real estate property into your mausoleum. You cannot put in your will that hereby I declare that my house is going to become a mausoleum, a memorial for my body. My body will be buried, preserved in this house, and that house is just dedicated to preserve my body. Pharaoh tried to do that. And where is Pharaoh right now? The ones who survived, the body survived, they are in a traveling show between different museums around the world. Okay? What about his right to rest in peace? No, 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 he has no right to rest in peace. Here's the person who thought he can turn his physical property into eternal property. No, eternal property is only the spiritual gain that you achieved in your everyday life. Now, the question is, what does it mean, spiritual gain? And the spiritual gain is, as it says over here, whoever realizes that whatever you focus about in this physical world is the small part of your legacy, which means the size of your house, the amount of money you have in your saving account, all of that stuff, it's a must. You need that. But this is a very small part of your legacy. This is a very small part of who you are and what you have become. So whoever makes himself small in this physical world, which means the focal point is, yes, I need to sustain myself. For instance, charity. If you don't have money, you cannot give charity. Uh, if you don't have physical abilities, like being an engineer, a doctor, a nurse, any kind of thing, you cannot really uh, give a lot, make an impact on achieving a better world and helping other people. So why helping other people is important? Because helping other people from a positive spiritual dimension point of view is very important. As it says, there are a few versions to that idea, but when the student approaches the great rabbi, we have the story with Hillel the Elder, and 100 years later with Rabbi Akiva. We're talking about something like 2,000 years ago. And those great, great, great teachers, sages, both of them said the whole Torah, the whole wisdom we're talking about, standing on one foot, which means in a nutshell, is loving others as you love yourself. However, the complete verse says, love others as you love yourself. I am God. What does it mean? When you love other people as you love yourself, and you do it because it's a nice human idea, like humanism of the last few centuries, and you leave God out of the picture, this is a recipe for idol worshiping. Why is it? Because what will give you the incentive to be there for others? Service. You are a clerk in the county office. You are a public servant in a certain office in the government. You are just a service giver in a great company or a small company, or you're independent. You have your own business. Why would you give a great service to others? So if you're really into uh, positive ideology, I do it because when everybody gives, then everybody shares and everybody does. Like in communism, every individual should do his best for society and will get according to his or her needs. That's one of the basic ideas of communism. So why communism, when it's been applied anywhere around the world in the last century, even more, why communism failed? So Rabbi Ashlag, 90 years ago, wrote, because when you give for others on the plane of the physical plane only, sooner or later you're going to get hurt. What does it mean? You're very nice to your spouse. You're very nice to your children. You're very nice. You do all your best to serve your clients, to serve your countrymen, to serve any human being. And you give all your best. But there's one little problem. Humans are very good in disappointing. They're not always there to appreciate your contribution to them. They will never be there to appreciate you as you think you deserve. That's called idol worshiping, which means when you give, when you share, when you do everything for somebody else, and you do it on just the physical domain, says Rabbi Ashlag, sooner or later you're going to get disappointed. because people will fail your hope. You will think that everybody will reciprocate the way you do. I'm talking about the ones who really give from, they're not, uh, people are really idealistic with a real like urge and power and so on, and they do give the best when they give any service, any kind of service, personal, professional, on a family basis, community basis, uh, patriotic basis. Sooner or later, if your attitude is only materialistic, which means your focal point is just the physical world, you are going to lose it. And your excitement and enthusiasm is going to dwindle down. And what will be the result? You will have no incentive to go out of your way to do anything for anyone. And therefore, in 1930, Rabbi Ashlag said communism is going to fall apart. They won't have what to eat because people won't have any incentive to do their best in order to improve their society. Why should they? Why should they? If everybody gets the same, why should I excel if nobody really appreciates my special efforts? And more than that, what did they say about idol worshiping? You'll be finishing your life bitter, miserable, hateful, because you will be in that terrible idea that I gave so much, I cared so much, and people failed me. Okay. But what is the original verse? Love others as you love yourself. I am God. If you do that service, which means we have people in our lives, and the fact that we have people in our lives is for one purpose only. So we can care for them, share with them, be with them unconditionally, because that's how we're going to elevate ourselves and get into that level of affinity with the Creator. We give because we're excited about the giving, because that is created the image of God within ourselves. When we do that, then we are real monotheists. So when people do not reciprocate, do not appreciate our service, our our giving, that's not our problem. We didn't do it for them to thank us. We didn't do it for them to help us. We didn't do it for them to appreciate us. We did it for one purpose, to connect to something that is so great, which is divinity, which is the other world. This is the double life of Sarah. When a person is focused, that even during our physical actions, like, let's say I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher, I'm doing my best to lift up other people and to make their lives better. If I do it for the purpose of getting closer to God and to his eternal world, this is the only thing that becomes real estate. Because tzidkato omedet la'ad. Charity stands forever. That stands forever. This is the only way that we can have a real sense of true fulfillment, appreciation, and maybe security, because deep inside, this is the only time we realize that I made the effort, and what I've given, what I've created, no one can take away from me. And this is what the Zohar explains. Verse 23 in the Zohar commentary of Rabbi Ashlag of Parashat Ḥayei Sarah. והיו חיי שרה, אלו החיים הם כולם למעלה. When we're talking about the lives of Sarah, we're talking about divine life. In the upper world, in the world to come, which is called Bina. 100 shana, when it says 100 shana, 100 year in single, it's about Keter. Keter is the top sephira of the tree of life. What is Keter? Keter is reaching. Keter means reaching that place that is the source of the emanation to our physical world, to our universe. What's the source of the emanation? It is the will of the Creator to share pleasure with his creatures. Touching that point, touching that crown, Keter, is basically achieving eternity. Why? Because we have in the tree of life 10 sephirot. Each one of them is made of 10. 10 by 10 gives you 100. But why do you need 10 by 10? And the answer is very simple. When we receive God's joy and pleasure and light, which is the fact, our destiny, we were created for that purpose and that purpose alone. When we receive that, that puts us in a terrible place. Why? Because the Creator is endless giver. And when we receive, we, by the law of affinity, disassociate ourselves from the Creator to the opposite pole, which means He is the great giver and we become the great receiver. Giving and receiving, it's the two opposite poles of creation. And because similarities attract, we create, the moment we are selfish, as the Mishnah says, Reshaim bechayehem nikraim metim. Selfish people, they're dead while they still physically are alive. They're simply dying. Why? Because they are disconnected from the source of life. So when we take those 10 sephirot, 10 emanations of light, that we were created to desire them, to receive pleasure and joy, happiness and fulfillment, and we use that desire, we use that urge and yearning to receive, we use it to turn it around into giving, which means to the desire to receive for the sake of giving. So now we have 10 emanations that we bring in, receive, but when we turn all of that power, using all of that power and urge and lust to receive the light of the Creator, but the more I want to receive, I want to use that to share with others. Which means it's not that I don't enjoy, I do enjoy. I do get into the zone with tremendous amount of energy. I'm using that to be there for others. It looks like, but nothing will be left for you. No, it doesn't work this way. Modern research of the last few decades shows clearly people who give charity, money, time, attention, people who are committed to give, people that are there to be at service as a great mission, they're happier. They have real more success. They make more money because they don't have that kind of high and buy. The worst problem of a human being today is erosion. On one hand, you are into that race of getting excited about life. So you do everything for that. You spend money, time, energy. You use anything, chemicals, whatever, just to get high. How long does that last? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours. And then there's the crash. After the flash, you have the crash. Why? This is the rule of the universe. You connect to the eternal light of the Creator. You created for that. And then you crash because the moment it's focused on your own pleasure in the physical dimension only, you disassociate yourself from the tree of life, from the source of real true light and pleasure. And then short circuit, you crash. And there's the morning after, and depression and pain and blame and so on and so forth. However, when you put all of that energy and excitement in getting other people, lifting them up, serving them, creating joy with them, for them, and you get excited about the opportunity you got, all that energy, now it's 10 by 10. It's multiplied. And now 10 by 10 is 100. This is why it starts. And the life of Sarah, 100 years. Why not years? Because it becomes one unit. One unit. 10 of receiving, 10 of giving. And you realize that when you gave, you got. When you received, you had the power to give. And at that moment, there is no giving or receiving. You realize it's one. It's synthesis. You're not a victim. You're not sacrificing. When you give, you grow bigger. When you share, you expand. When you care, you become stronger. So why? As long as you do it, because that's a way to serve the endless one God of the universe. That's a way to connect to him. So if people do not appreciate you giving, that's none of your business. It's their problem. You did it because that is your faith. This is your gift. This is your creativity. This is how you created a creator out of yourself. You're doing it independently because you don't, it's not influenced by people's criticism or we like it, we don't want to like it, whatever. You care, you're sensitive, but you do it because that's the way to be the person you're supposed to be. Your giving is not taking anything of who you are. That's where you focus on the eternal dimension. That's a gift of Sarah. Now, if you do it 10 plus 10, that's 20 year. Why again year? Because it's one. It's not giving and receiving two. It's giving and receiving, it's one. This is basically the idea of monotheism, that there is a giving and there is a receiving. And you have to synthesize that you give when you receive and you receive when you give. When you receive God's light, you're basically giving God pleasure because finally you realize your place in the relationship. You are a God's vessel. You know that to be God's vessel, you have to be a giver. You need it for yourself, not for God. You need it for yourself. And therefore, when people are in need, they simply give you an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone. It's not a sacrifice. It's a growth. Going out of a box, out of the comfortable zone, that's how you get into the zone, either in every aspect of life. And especially when you realize this is happening in the eternal dimension, the dimension of the soul. Now, if you live in a culture like ours that is so materialistic, you're being doomed to suffer horribly. Why? Because the education system of our materialistic civilization is preaching to you since you're a little child, there's no soul, there's no other dimension. It's only what you see, it's only physical. That means that you're being brought up to be a failure because all your focus will be only on the physical achievement. What is the result? The more you achieve on the physical dimension, money and power and so on, the more depleted, you feel, because subconsciously you know something is missing. Why am I not that happy? Why am I always hungry for more fulfillment? The focal point. The focal point. So what is the next number? And 7 years. Remember when we spoke about the tree of life has 10 sefirot, 10 emanations of light. When we overcome selfishness, when we share, when we create, it diminishes our joy a little bit. Instead of, so in the numerical value, because everything in Kabbalah has a numerical value, I get, instead of 10 sefirot, I get only 7. The upper three, the way it's called, the three at the top, they are the focal point of the light. When I'm selfish, I get those upper three. But then, as I said, flash and a crash, high and buy. The moment we care for others, on the moment, we enjoy a little bit less. We enjoy on the level of 7, not on the level of 10. It looks like you're giving something up. You're sacrificing up. You do, in a way. But the light that we get, only the lower 7, is the light that will stay eternally. When are we going to get the other 3? When humanity is going to complete this journey as one. When all of humanity is going to reach that consciousness I'm talking about, and it's not that long from now, we're really reaching the end of days. It's not the end of days. It's the end of days. We know it. When all of humanity is going to do, like it says, the tikkun, the correction of the 7 levels, we can move to the next level. And Parashat Ḥayei is starting a discourse about it, and it's called the resurrection. What is the resurrection about? The resurrection is when we complete fixing, correcting the 7 emanations. That's why it says 7 years in plural. It's all the little details of our reality. That the details are to be honest in the details, when it says God is in the details. No, it's just the love of God. All the rest, it doesn't matter. No, it's in the details. The basic laws we have to follow. When we somehow reach that completion of that state we are, with the details of 7 years, then humanity can move on, and then we can get a higher level of pleasure, the upper 3. And then we complete from 7 to 10. We can go into it a lot, but it's like, yes, when somebody is selfishly having pleasure, it's a greater high. That's why it's a flash. When you care for others, it's not that high of a flash, but there's no crash after. And that's basically the name of the journey. You have to compromise somehow, not to indulge yourself, but to care for others too. On one hand, it looks like you're giving up something, but you're really protecting yourself from selfishness, which will kill you. As I said, selfishness is death. So this is exactly what this parasha is about. And therefore, we see in this parasha also a great opportunity to understand also what does it mean to find a soulmate. When Eliezer, the slave, the servant of Abraham, he goes in a mission to find a soulmate for Isaac. He is not going just to find a soulmate for Isaac. He knows that Isaac is a chariot. Eliezer was not a stupid person. He was a very powerful spiritual person. He has to find a sage wife. And Rivka was a sage. She was a prophet too. Okay? What his message? What is his prayer? He comes to Haran, the place of the family of Abraham. He goes over there in the mission. He comes to the well, of course. The long journey, you go first to the well, and he prays to God. And he says, God, the sign will be the lady that will come to the well, and I'll ask her for water. And she'll say, I'll give you water and I'll give also to your camels. I know she is meant for Isaac. Why? You exactly understand what I'm saying. If she gets the idea that Sarah brought to the world, she can be Isaac's soulmate. What if, but he didn't ask Rivka, what kind of music does she like? It doesn't matter. When two people get together and they have one mission, and the mission is Tovim Hashnayim min ha'echad, two are better than one, which means if my mission is to achieve greatness by realizing that building my real estate, which means building that aspect of my soul, that whatever I want, whatever I crave for, is only it's only a precursor. It's only like the basic material to create my real estate, which means if I don't have passion, I cannot turn it into passion for others. If I don't have great desires, I cannot use them to help, to a big circle of people. It's very, very important to understand and to basically respect our desires, to respect our urges. They are a gift. However, the same way, somebody has iron. Iron alone worth nothing. You can take their iron and turn it into machines or into scaffoldings or whatever. There's so much you can do with iron. Our society does not exist without iron, but just iron itself, it's nothing, worth nothing. Same thing, desire to receive, urges, they are just the basic commodity. What do you do with it? Can you transform your desires? Do not detach from them. Do not shut them down. Do not oppress them or suppress them. They were your gift. You have to use them as a commodity and build from them your real estate. The bigger the desire, the bigger the light. The bigger the light, the bigger the gift you can give to others. And that's the bigger the real estate you create for yourself. By the way, that will explain to us the story of Abraham when he goes to the people of Hebron and he's asking for a place of burial for Sarah. And finally, it says that he has a whole kind of a negotiation with Ephron. And the Zohar explains this is basically a debate between the soul and other souls, the soul and the body. The whole story is also, it's a story, it's a historical story about Abram and Sarah and burying Sarah in Hebron. And yes, there was a physical cave, and it's called the Cave of Machpelah. And there's a shrine till today in that place. And people have pilgrimage going there to the place that Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah are buried. Some say also Adam and Eve. Okay, however, but there's also a spiritual meaning to that story. And when it says that Abraham is giving 400 silver shekels to Ephron, you have to understand that Ephron, the source of the word Ephron is afar. Afar means soil. You know, what people wrongly, in English, they say ashes to ashes. It never says ashes, it says soil. Soil to soil. The human being came from soil, and that's why he has to go to the soil. Okay? From earth, earth to earth, soil to soil, earth to earth. That's our original Hebrew, not ashes. No way. Okay, no dust. It's soil to soil, earth to earth. Ephon is coming from the word afar, soil, earth. In order to buy the real universe, you have to pay 400 shekel kesef. What is kesef? So in Hebrew, it's again double meaning. Kesef means money. It means silver. But it means also kisufin. Kesef means also urges, desires, which means when somebody has a very big desire for something, that's also kesef, which means in order to build your great estate in the world to come, you have to invest all 400 shekel kesef, all your desires. And kesef means also in Hebrew silver, and silver is a symbol for giving. It's the white silver, the silver that represents giving. In the temple and the tabernacle, the only metal that people used as the holy shekel was silver, because it's a symbol of giving, not gold. Gold is receiving, red. So how do you create your own great real estate in the upper world? It's a 400 shekel kesef. It's a 400 universes of cravings for spiritual light. The pleasure of that palace of 400 shekels is so much greater than any physical pleasure. And every human being must reach that creativity, that reality, by learning that the physical pleasure to the physical body is so, so poor, so limited. And therefore, it doesn't matter what kind of food you eat, what kind of other pleasures you have, your soul will always be hungry. And only when you start feeding the soul with the spiritual realm, and that needs meditation, that needs prayer, that needs contemplation, that needs expanding your awareness to the great universe of the dimension of spirituality. Without establishing it, without building it, without developing it, you always feel depleted. And now humanity is going to a journey, very rough journey, of all the idols of the physical dimension will fall apart. They're falling apart one by one. And instead of being busy, cursing, hating, being so much cynical about life, we have to focus on the real true solution, which is building our real estate in the spiritual dimension, feeding our soul with the true nourishment that the world is preparing for us. And that is the secret of Parashat Ḥayei. Wishing success to all of us. We should all help others to get awakened to that idea, because there's no way to run away from the suffering, the pain, the anguish that people suffer today, because they are not really aware of the great destiny of every human being. Thank you so much.